Welcome to Bovine Banter with the Penn State Dairy Extension Team. I'm Lisa Holden, an Associate Professor of Dairy Science at Penn State. Joining us today is Dr. Guojie Wang, an Assistant Professor of Forage Crop Systems at Penn State. Thanks so much for being with us today. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role at Penn State?
Hello, thank you very much, Dr. Holden, for inviting me to your Bovine Banter Season 14, Episode 1. Oh, I am very excited. So greetings to the listeners. My name is Guojie Wang, and it is very hard to remember, of course. My colleagues here at Penn State call me G, the first letter of my first name, okay? So my home country, from the accent, maybe you can guess, is China, but I have been here in the United States since 2004. After graduating from North Dakota State University in 2010, I have worked in North Dakota, that is Great Plains, and Oregon, that is Pacific Northwest, for the last 13 years. Now, as a forage crop systems extension specialist at Penn State since last August 2022, I have become an active member of the agronomy team. In the agronomy team, we have 15 extension faculty and associates and 17 extension educators. My role in the agronomy team is to work with everyone on the team to meet any forage-related extension needs, from answering phone calls, replying emails, presenting specific topics, workshops, and writing articles. What and why forages, okay? So long story short here, my childhood education, research interest, and hobby, even to some kind of extent, are always related to grasses, grassland, forages, and animal production. I am very passionate about forages due to, its economic, societal, or environmental values, okay? My love for forages never decreased because forages are so diverse and its production is so challengeable, okay? I am eager to work with forage lovers, great, or forage leaders, great, with different management objectives in mind. Okay, due to my heavy accent here, I hope you can understand me well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, G. We are excited to have you here and excited to have you working in this forage area. As we kick off this series of Bovine Banter, we are focusing in on silages. And this episode will cover some information about agronomic considerations and some issues with drought stress. So let's go ahead and get started with our discussion. G, can you tell us what are some common agronomic considerations that are going to be important for silages?
Oh gosh, Lisa, we need maybe several days to cover all the considerations. I can make a very long bucket list or laundry list. But here, I will just briefly mention several considerations, including species and cultivar selection, seeding regime, soil management, pest management, and harvesting. Okay, so it will be a kind of boring time. I will dominate this kind of talk, but I try to make it a little bit more interesting. First and foremost, select the right forage species for silage, okay, especially matched with your specific and unique farm. We have all kinds of silage species from corn, sorghum, perennial hay crops, small grains, winter annual crops to soybeans, okay? Corn harvested for silage is the most popular feed crop on most Pennsylvania dairy farms. Everybody knows, I think, where cropland often is limited. That means we really need a lot of tonnage. Corn can make it. With unpredictable weather conditions, especially drought, sorghum actually can be an alternative silage species due to its drought resistance, okay? Also, again, with unpredictable weather conditions, especially those kind of sporadic showers in the hay making season, like this year, okay? A lot of people did not even finish the first cut yet. Okay, perennial hay crops can only be harvested as silage in some instances. More and more Pennsylvania dairy producers adopt corn silage production systems. That means plant corn for silage after the harvest, plant rye, and next spring harvest the rye as silage. So it's a year after year annual double cropping system. So small grains and winter annual crops gain some kind of traction in the silage production world. Okay, to summarize the first consideration, corn harvested for silage is the most popular species, no doubt, but it is not the only option. Based on each dairy producer's specific situation, other silage species or cropping system can be considered. Oh, that is a long mouth. I hope you are not very sleepy yet. Okay.
Not yet.
So the second factor to consider is to select the right hybrid or cultivar within a silage species. So the listeners may be familiar with the BMR corn or sorghum. So the BMR brown mid-rib hybrids or cultivars normally produce a high quality silage with a lower lignin content, but lower silage yield, sometimes even with a lodging problem for harvesting. Okay, so that is something you can consider, BMR or non-BMR or traditional. Another thing to consider is a relative maturity rating. Okay, that kind of rating should be carefully considered and decided because maturity rating is directly related to silage moisture content, okay, when you harvest, and forage quality, okay, and forage yield. For example, the rule of thumb for selecting a corn hybrid for silage is to select hybrids with a relative maturity rating up to 10 days longer than those kind of full season grain hybrid for your area. Okay, of course, this is not always true. If you have a very wet soil, if you have some kind of early need for silage in the season, of course, maturity rating later, 10 days can be a very bad thing. At Penn State, we have an annual corn silage variety testing program. Okay, so the listeners can go to our Penn State Extension website and search for corn silage variety trials. You can get the data. With this kind of detailed data, producers can select the right hybrid very, very close to your backyard with a testing site. Okay, so for the first two considerations, species and cultivar selection, the magic here is to match your farm conditions, a lot of factors like climate, weather, soil, and management goal, equipment availability, all kinds of factors with the right silage species and cultivar. Just find the right one. Okay, so we will continue to the third consideration, in this kind of silage making world. The third one is the seeding regime. When we talk about the seeding, the first thing that jumps into our minds is the seeding population. Okay, the right population for each farm depends on lots of factors. That's a very common extension answer, like it depends. But here I will give out a number. 30,000 corn per acre is a good number to balance silage yield and quality in most areas of Pennsylvania. Okay, of course you can adjust based on your situation. So when to seed? The short answer is to seed those kind of silage species as early as weather and soil conditions permit. Okay, this is very risky. With my experience, every year I hear some kind of successful stories of early, even crazy early corn seeding. This year in central Pennsylvania, I heard some producers seeded in March. Okay. At the same time, I also hear about some painful failures due to the early seeding of the corn silage. So in general, silage yields decreased about 1 ton per week when seeding was delayed after mid-May, in this northeast region. So before mid-May, but not too early, can be a good middle ground for corn seeding. Okay, if a lot of if for agriculture. For some reason, seeding on time is impossible. You have all kinds of excuses and reasons. Okay, planting corn late is still a viable option. If it's too late, even to plant corn, maybe after mid-June or even later, species in the sorghum family can be a better option than corn, because sorghum actually requires soil temperature higher than 60 F when seeding. What if you seed the sorghum very early with a lower soil temperature? The sorghum actually will experience a PTSD, I name it. Okay, it's a kind of human beings problem like a childhood drama. Okay, so the scientific name for this kind of PTSD for sorghum is called Drought syndrome. So if you seed in the very cool soil, those sorghum will germinate and will grow very slow and keep it short. Even you get to the high temperatures, and everything's good. Okay.
Lots of considerations. Do you have a few more for us, G?
Oh, thank you, Lisa. I have a lot of things. You see, this is a laundry list for almost every agronomist. Okay. So the first one is the soil management. Okay, soil management is like two sides of stories. One is nutrient management, another is the soil degradation considerations. So corn silage and other silage crops are very nutrient demanding. That means we need a lot of soil fertility input. For the agronomy team at Penn State, we actually publishes and update the agronomy guide biannually. So you can get this agronomy guide and look at all the tables and recommendations and make the corresponding fertilization and manure application. Everything there, like manure, cover crop, crop rotation, and those kind of credits from the legumes. Okay. So if I have to give a magic word here to summarize, so for the soil fertility management is a soil test. So spend some time and spend about $10 per sample just to get a soil test done. You will have your best investment in your whole farm to manage your soil fertility. Silage, that means cut almost everything above ground. Okay, so that means we leave a little bit residue behind, and that will be prone for soil erosion and soil organic matter loss. Okay, we have some mitigation measures like planting a cover crops, interseeding some kind of species, manure application, and maybe get rid of the tillage and mitigate the soil compaction, so we can have the less soil degradation and we can keep the soil productivity for next generation. Okay, yes. So it's a very, I even feel very bored. So if you are still listening, that is a good sign. So I will continue for the next consideration is about the pest management. Okay, again, I will refer to the agronomy guide for your detailed recommendations like chemicals, herbicides, fungicide, and insecticides application for the pest management. But I want to mention here, besides those kind of chemicals, we still have a lot of measures to manage the pest. Okay, so we really need to develop an integrated pest management plan, for your unique farm. So this one includes all kinds of factors, including whatever we talked about before. Okay, so the magic here, you want to have the very productive, healthy plant. So that plant can compete with weeds and defend the diseases and insects and also recover fast, if the pest infestation happens. Okay, so we get to very close point, to this part. Okay, the last but the most critical consideration is the silage harvest. Okay, So the harvest part is normally out a little bit of agronomist consideration, but I will cover it, pretend I'm an engineer here, okay?
Sounds good.
So the very big factor here, the ruler, is the moisture content when we harvest silage, 65%. Why is it so magical for the 65%? Because this 65% moisture content can be very good for all kinds of silos, okay, bunkers, towers, and bags, okay. This kind of moisture content also balances the silage yield and the silage quality, okay. So here, let me see this 3 times, 65%, 65%, and 65%. Let's just strings that, okay? So how do we know, when you harvest the silage, it is 65% moisture content? We have all kinds of cheap or easy instruments to measure, like a microwave oven or some kind of commercial forage moisture tester, okay? The best way to just measure it. But not every farmer wants to do that every day. So by looking at the corn kernel, like a milk line, we can some kind of guess the moisture content. Like a half to 2/3 of moisture milk line is very close to the 65 moisture content. Of course, we really want to get the measure, accurate moisture content rather than just a guess. Okay. In the end, ready to harvest the silage, we need to consider the particle size and processing. The particle size is about how fine you want to chop, okay? So if it's too long to chop, it will be very bad for the packing, fermentation, and feeding later, okay? If it's too short, those kind of chopping lengths, it is not very good for the dairy cow fiber needs, okay? So the magic chopping length here is 3/8 to 3/4, okay, inches. The last, I promise this time. Processing is about crushing and splitting corn grain cob and main stalk between 2 rulers in the harvesting equipment. It is about the diameter for these kind of silage particles. The magic here is 1 to 2 millimeter ruler clearance, okay, and in general, you should not find any intact corn grain in your corn silage. That's it for this big laundry list. Thank you.
So, G, you've given us a lot of great considerations, such importance on the forages and the silages, because that's what we're harvesting and feeding to our herds. What about some different considerations for corn silage versus hay crop silage? Are there some differences there that we should think about?
Yeah, let's start with some kind of generality to compare silage with hay, okay, dry hay, okay. Silage, a lot of moisture, 65%, okay, and hay, less moisture, lower than 20, sometimes lower than 15%. So that will give you a lot of consideration, like transportation distance, dry matter loss, or the cost, okay? In general, hay making process will lose a lot of dry matter in the harvesting stage, but silage will lose a lot of dry matter in the preservation and ensiling stage. Okay, so now let's talk about the corn and hay crop silage versus silage. Okay, corn is the king. I crowned it. Corn has the consistent quality compared with other silage species. The highest yield, if everything is under average conditions in Pennsylvania, that means a higher energy content, less labor per ton of the silage, and less machine time. Okay. In the other side, hay crop silage, you need to make multiple cuts. Oh, that is a hassle for most of the dairy producers because of labor, timing, and you name it. It's very difficult for the hay crop silage to ferment in a very short time frame. For example, it's not very easy to drop the pH below 4.5, 5.5 to reach to that kind of stable stage for those low carbohydrates forage crop, hay crop silage. That I think that is some kind of summarizing. Did I cover that, or it is the wrong direction?
Nope, it sounds good. Thank you. So you talked a little bit about drought and the impact of drought on forages. So we have unpredictable weather, and forages do become drought stressed. So are there any special considerations for harvesting or feeding drought stressed silages?
Oh, Lisa, you asked the two sides, this kind of drought stressed silage, harvesting and feeding. Let's talk about the harvesting first. Drought stressed can be drought killed or drought tolerant and still alive. Okay, if the drought already killed those kind of crops for silage, that means it will not resume regrowth after the rainfall. Okay, so if that's the case, inside or early, because that is already get to the dry side, and we need stop losing the dry matter and deteriorate the forage quality. Okay, but if you still have some green leaves, may resume regrowth after the drought, those kind of situation, we need to let the corn keep growing, accumulate more dry matter, and we can harvest later. So delay harvest for those kind of situations. Sometimes it's very counterintuitive. Drought stressed corn can have a lot of moisture into it, higher than 65%. So we really need to pay attention to something rather than just a visual, encouragement or discouragement. Okay, so under this kind of drought stressed silage, we can consider some kind of preservatives or inoculants like the acids or some kind of bacteria inoculants. Okay, so that means we cannot match the moisture content very well. We cannot harvest on time, or those kind of situations. But those kind of inoculants can only help that far. If we are off from the beginning too far, they cannot help. Now let's talk about feeding. Okay, so under drought stressed these kind of situations, actually the crude protein and fiber digestibility is better. A lot of my friends will say, gee, you are wrong. Okay, let me explain. If you have the drought stressed corn, for example, the productivity is lower, the crop is shorter, so the lignin deposition is lower compared with other very solid, very big corn plant. Okay, so the fiber digestibility is higher, and the crude protein is higher because the less dilution for the higher yield if it's not drought stressed. But the energy content is lower. That means the starch content from the grain feeding process is lower. So we really need to mix some kind of ration to bring the energy content up. Okay, so those kind of things for feeding. The last one I want to address is the nitrate toxicity. Under drought, those kind of nitrogen in the soil will be accumulated in the base of this silage species. Okay, like a saving account, that is the nitrate. Okay, that's the formal nitrate. So under normal conditions, those nitrate will be used, okay, in the plant and form amino acids and proteins. But under drought, photosynthesis is limited, so the nitrate cannot be used on time. Okay, so if we have this kind of nitrate level very high silage, and those kind of silage consumed by livestock, dairy cows, those kind of nitrate will be converted to nitrite in those kind of blood vessels. Okay, so the nitrite actually disable the hemoglobin to carry oxygen. Now you get it, oxygen deficiency, or sometimes even no oxygen left. So cause those kind of blue baby syndrome or some kind of breathing problem, oxygen problems. So under drought, this kind of nitrate toxicity can be significant.
So definitely something for our producers to watch out for.
Yes, yes. So what if you have a drought and suddenly you have a significant rainfall? I mean, a quarter inch to half inch, you say, oh, now drought is gone. Let's do it. Let's harvest. Actually, right after a drought, it can be even worse to accumulate a lot of nitrate. So we need to measure the nitrate level and make sure we can be safe to feed our livestock. We have a whole chapter to tell, like how to manage some kind of high nitrate forages. In the end, drought normally coupled with heat stress. Okay, so high temperature and low moisture availability. If it's a heat-stressed corn silage or other silage, the lignin component can be high and the forage quality can be very, very low. And that is another story. I will stop here, Lisa. Thank you.
So we're getting to the end of our episode. I have just 2 more questions for you, G. The first is, what are the top 3 tips that you would like to share with our farmers for improving silage quality?
Oh, so 3, only 3. Okay,
Only
so 3. I will make it sounds like a philosophy here. Okay, first one is to grow healthy and less stressed silage plants. So healthy plants, healthy silage, and healthy cows idea. Okay, so how do we grow healthy plants? We mentioned match the species cultivars to your field, and not too sparse, not too dense, a good management for fertility and pest, and of course, in the end, you pray for the good weather. Okay, that is the part we cannot control. The second one is harvest right. I will summarize into this kind of situation, like at the right time with the right machine and managed by the right people, because flexibility, adjustment during this harvesting period is a must. You cannot just set up something, hope you can harvest 1,000 acres in one shot, okay? The third one is in-soil right. I covered very, very little, today about this part, but I think other people in the next episode will cover better. I will just throw out some words. Pack very well. From time to time, if you have a hole or if you have an animal bite or something bad happen for the in-soil process. Thank you.
Okay. G, do you have a take-home message you would like to share with our listeners?
Oh, we are getting to the end, so I want to brag a little bit. I grew up in a family with a very small farm in China, so I cannot tell my dad and my mom what to do, how to do, and even though they do not have any education before, but they know much more than me. However, today I want to mention some kind of positive encouragement. Silage making, especially corn silage making, will be more popular due to the whole set of merits that the hay making for dairy production. Okay, that is a trend maybe we cannot reverse very soon. One of the merits is the ease of management of corn silage production. Okay, so it's the ease of management. That means with a little bit of learning and experience, add some kind of luck, and use your great sense of art, you can make the best silage for your farm for sure. So, take home message, you can do it. Okay, so thank you, Lisa, for this kind of great opportunity to talk to you and the listeners, and also thank the listeners for enduring my Chinese style English. If you cannot understand, contact me.
Well, thank you very much, G, for talking with us today and taking time. And thank you to all of our listeners. Don't forget to tune in next Tuesday, where Dr. Ginger Fenton will discuss molds and mycotoxins. Thank you very much.